Alright, well, hello and welcome to my second reaction or take. Um, Technically, actually, pretty late. This article and stuff actually, well, yeah, even this article came almost a week ago, but it didn't cross my radar until a couple days ago, and I just haven't had a chance to actually sit down and then do this reaction that I wanted to do. So, for anyone who didn't hear, there is a new Star Trek game coming out referred to as, titled Star Trek Resurgence. And just real quick, because I never admitted it back then, it was one of those late late night, early morning kind of things. I think they revealed it at. Pretty sure they revealed it at the Game Awards in December, and I had no interest and didn't watch it or anything. And then the next day, I got all the notifications of, oh, there's a Star Trek thing that happened. We'll just do this real quick.
I enlisted because I didn't want to wait years just to get out and see the galaxy. I wanted to go somewhere, see new worlds, look up at a sky.
It looks really nice so far.
It's been a dream of mine since before I can remember. So I would be honored to become a captain someday. We need to learn everything we can.
You're not gonna die.
There's a lot of things going into this.
This can't be right.
Time to impact 1 minute. Jara, I need you to do the right thing.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
I didn't realize at the time, but that's actually supposed to be Spock. Which for anyone who doesn't know, which is unlikely, but uh, ignore my other random videos there. I should actually my other account. Oh well. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of weird stuff. Don't judge me. um. Anyway, I know what to do. Yeah, doesn't really matter, I suppose. But anyway, that's what happens when you do a couple of different reaction videos. I'm not sure what the hell you're doing. Anyway, so I guess the big context to keep in mind too is that as of right now, there's really Star Trek game in Star Trek Online. There's nothing. Bridge Crew, the VR experiment that ended up getting taken out of VR because it just wasn't popular enough. I don't think. It's cool. That's when I played a couple times. It's a fun excuse if you have a VR headset to do shit. If you even for us, it was kind of fun to be able to do everything that we needed to do. Where you act as a little crew and somebody's the captain has all the orders. I was doing like engine, or I think I was doing science where I was or maybe tactical where I was in charge of just shooting shit. Kind of fun. Somebody gets to be in charge of moving the ship as the helms person. Again, it's a fun time, but it's a novelty that only lasts for just a little bit. Um, the other thing going is fucking Fleet Command, which fuck that. It's a mobile gotcha that it may be Star Trek and shit, but it doesn't interest me at all. I tried it. I did. I jumped on there. I think it was Ketsune. I jumped on there day one, and day two I think day two or if not three he was done. I was going for like a week and then I gave up too because it just again it's a mobile gotcha. And ironically, I named we get to name your little fleet, which is also the clan. I called it Planet Express for probably obvious reasons. Still probably around. What I from what they used to do it is that you randomly spawn onto a server, and you got lucky if that server had the clan you were on or not. in the case of Captain, we got lucky that he ended up joining the same server that I was on. But yeah, um, realize even this article was actually a couple days late because everything happened on the 10th and they didn't get to it till the 13th. That was Sunday. I think I saw this Tuesday. So anyway, sorry, just looking at timing and realized a couple things. I saw a date and was wanting to confirm what that date was. So part of what we're gonna do is not just react to the gameplay footage that was revealed by IGN. We're actually gonna go through and we're actually gonna look at character bios, which was wrong, but this. So I figured we'll these. Um, I was hoping to join me, but unfortunately he wasn't able to. Um, but yes, we'll go through these. Kind of. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just saw there was a link and I was trying to figure out what it's a link to. It's just a link to the bigger version of the picture. Matter. Um. Oh, I didn't finish. So finishing my thought then that don't have any good quality Star Trek games except for Star Trek Online, depending on how you look at it. Not terrible, but it's not great. We've needed more. Um, it's really just been online since it was released. Really, that was 11, 12 years ago now. There really haven't been any new Star Trek games since then. A couple years ago, last year, for Star Trek Day, I remember there's a big thing where um, GOG Good Old Games. I don't know if they put the work into it, if it was requested or what have you, but you can now get a bunch of things on GOG. Uh, yeah, get all these games that these are really old games like 2000, 2001, 2000, 2003, 2002, 2002, 1999, and 2001. They're old, all really old games that you really couldn't play. Um, and I guess another thing too, I would argue that from what I've understood from pieces, comedian rankings and shit like that, the highest rated Trek game was Elite Force. In most articles and lists I can find, it tends to be Elite Force gets ranked the highest. I honestly can't speak to any of these. Never played them. Um, at that point, I was just strictly on Nintendo consoles. I mean, in 2000, I was just going into kindergarten. Or I was just getting out of kindergarten, going into first grade. I just never really played any of these. Um, at the time, I think I tried playing Elite Force. I think my parents were gonna let me play Elite Force, and I just didn't. Not quite sure why that didn't happen. Just I'm remembering. I'm gonna turn capture off for just a second. Oh, that image is still back there. I forgot that was still back there. Um, bring that. But yeah, so at some point I do kind of want to play these. I tried streaming Starfleet Command 3. It didn't go very well, definitely. But again, I still tried. Actually, I never quick figure out which one it was. And yep, and 3. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, normally I don't have to worry about being over drinks and such, but no. As you can see, I still have some other stuff I've gotten here. A lot of these are just free games you get through either Twitch or stuff like that. But yeah, they're right there. Is Starfleet Command 3. I tried playing it, it didn't go well because it did not want to behave on stream and just or with my displays and just a lot of things. I don't blame the game for that. It's not the game's fault. Update. Uh, anyway, yeah. So this is kind of cool. I just realized shelf. I like that. Anyway, but that's not what we're here for. So just something to think about. That's really considered. Those games are considered the pinnacle of Star Trek games, really, by a lot of the fan base. Again, from what I can tell, my experience with what I can tell, haven't really had anything since 2000. So that's why the thing with Resurgence is such a big deal, getting in and of itself. Um, Another small thing that we'll have to see how it pans out. This little comm badge is actually very important, at least, and the uniform design is also important. This is the era of next gen movies, which the ship, the Enterprise E, um, so like those uniforms typically came out during Star Trek First Contact, and then they were immediately sent over to Deep Space Nine for the rest of its TV show run, which still had a good 3 years left. 3 years left. Um, and then Comm Badge is also one that Voyager did, which same thing got ported over to both the next gen movie and to DS9 because they're all taking place at the same time. So that's the era of Star Trek that we're in is right around Voyager, probably right after Voyager, most likely. Can't quite tell from things so far, but it makes the most sense that it would be post Voyager. And as a side note, since that's just part of the game's logo, I don't that this little name thingy is a comm badge. Fine, because the in-game model is using the proper comm badge. If that was in there, then we'd have some other issues. Unless, like, totally like this is, a while later, and I don't know the bullshit they come up with, but so with all of that long-winded stuff out of the way here and doing shit in the background, I've gone 13 minutes of ranting and raving. Let's get to the reaction part now, shall we? Or at least the discussion. We get to the reaction part. So you have the main cast. There's a few of them, and then we're gonna get to this 4 minutes of gameplay, and well, this is Spock's briefing, and then again the 4 minutes of actual gameplay. Which, spoiler warning, I did see the first minute of this, and then I was like, after that, I'm like, you know what? Be good to react to. That's why I ended up on my stopped it there about the minute mark, and yeah, and yeah, go away. Just mad because I have an ad blocker. Okay, I see. So they just do the bigger images of the crew. Well, let's do that actually. Let's no. Nope, nope. There you go. So this is there Carter Diaz. So he dreamed with a thirst for adventure. He decided to skip the academy and enlist in Starfleet so he could get out and see the galaxy. A gifted engineer, and while life in lower decks far from the decisions of the bridge, he almost always finds himself in action. So kind of cool. So basically, he was an up and comer who wanted to get He wanted to enlist and get out into space, and just happened and is a very talented engineer. He's probably going to be someone in engineering, not a chief engineer or anything like that. That's fine. That's cool. Letting because it is Star Trek is not so good at, which is why episodes like Lower Decks. I know this show. I'll get to that in a second. But episodes from Next Gen like Lower Decks. Um, I don't know if DS9 probably has a similar one, but it's really nine actually had a good focus on it on its cast. And Voyager, Star Trek Voyager had Good Shepherd. Those two episodes at the very least are really cool. They're the first time you get to interact really with people. I specifically prefer the Next Gen Lower Decks episode because in that episode you basically don't don't know what's going on until the very end is when you finally learn. And still not all of it. It's the one and I think only episode where you're getting everything from a low level view. Pardon me. They're just getting from a low level view because you don't find out what's happening until the lower deck characters find out what's happening. There's a bunch of conversations going on between the officers they're around. You get most of what's going on, but you don't really, and you also only get it because you can see different officers' perspectives. The individual officers don't know what happened. The couple things that they do know they can't talk about because they're low decks. Star Trek has always had a thing where it's always the captain. You're always seeing the captain and the command crew, so you know instantly what the problem is. You know how the command crew is working to solve it, and so on, so on, so on. That's what made that episode really. It's also what spawned the idea for the show and why it got the name Lower Decks as well. Um, the name of the show Lower Decks is also a callback to an episode, which is kind of cool. So again, being able to actually see this kind of stuff would be very interesting. All right, and this is a commander from what I can tell here. That's tips, which always indicates commander, which he is a chief engineer. Miles O'Brien was a non-commissioned enlisted and Star Trek Deep Space Nine and was still the both the transporter chief and then later on became uh, chief engineer. Maybe he is the chief engineer. So again, it looks like 3 pips here, all solid. As you note from my character too. I know you guys have seen him. Nice big image of him. Actual, that's not, the YouTube, right above the YouTube channel, it should be there too. But I'm gonna pull them up anyway. Kind of cool. I haven't had down a really a chance. There we go. Actually, let me. I got it. A bit nicer. I got it from the artist who did it. There we go. That's the full. And if you're wondering, this is an archive of all the previous avatars I've used, and some of the couple things I was trying to do with them that didn't come out. Like when you're playing Battle Block Theater, I found out you could import faces, but that didn't work very well. But yeah, so this is what he looks like. That so as you notice here on this character, he has tips. This is yeah, this indicates the rank of captain. If you have just 3, it's commander. 2 with a black one is lieutenant commander. Lieutenant. 2 with the second one being a black one is lieutenant junior grade, and then just 1 is ensign. Which actually is something else I can do. Another case of things that you don't get to see. That's right. That's the proper font. There we go. So again, this is Ensign, which if you recognize the images, this happens if you subscribe to me with Prime membership over on Twitch. You get to be an Ensign. Subscribe with a regular one, you become a lieutenant. I did skip Lieutenant Junior grade in this because it's just here. Lieutenant Commander with the black one there, and then Commander. And again, the fourth one is Captain, which is me. So that's the Star Trek logic. So with that in mind, Commander. The Starfleet's finest, top of her class at the Academy and battle tested. So we do know this to be after the Dominion War, which is after Deep Space Nine. As a new arrival to the and the job of first officer, Dara will have but she's half cool and was fine, so being used is used to being an outsider. I don't recall the species, unfortunately. And if I could go look it up, I really, I do kind of care to look it up now. Uh, that's right. Oh, that's not what I want. Did I not do? God, I hate fandom with a passion. All right, we're gonna do this. I'm doing this originally, but I need to get rid of things here. That's better. I can handle this. All right. I want the cobalt. Next gen, it looks like just look at the screenshot there. Delta. Oh no. Oh yeah, I see. It's Enterprise connecting. Yeah. So this is mostly a DS9, and then yeah, they were DS9, but they were also. So that probably gonna be it. I think that we probably get the majority of the information from DS9. Oh, but there were some in kind of a random fact, which is kind of cool. Binary extinction, iridium to stabilize the cell structure. Federation was playing with substance, but it was too scarce to service their entire functions. So that's cool. And then what's really cool about Memory Alpha, for anyone who doesn't know, is the premier source for just about anything Star Trek that you want to know. This also Memory Alpha is considered canon stuff, everything that's from the shows. Memory Beta is where you'll find things from licensed material like Star Trek Online, which has its own separate storyline for a lot of things. Star Trek Picard completely fucked over, but that's a separate issue now. And anyway, so back to what we're doing. So again, so that's just a quick thing over there. So that she's actually a proper media members of her race. this is the version of Spock. Heard the voice actor for him. I didn't click that it was supposed to be Spock right away. When I first heard it, it actually kept listening and going, "That's supposed to be Spock," and I went, "Is it?" And then here's the absolute confirmation. Go figure the United Planets, going back to his well-known Captain Kirk Enterprise, where he sought to reunite the Romulan Empire and his home planet of Vulcan. But when the Federation needed peace, and this snap because I realized just what time frame this has to be. This has to be after Voyager. Not necessarily after Voyager, but this still has to be way before Picard, because Star Trek Picard takes place, Romulan supernova has already occurred, and that's what sent Spock back in time to Elven reboot. So time still marched on afterwards, but he disappeared. He presumed dead, and technically now he is even the canon of that universe. But yeah, so this is gonna play again end of next generation, likely after probably get a lot of void. Waiting to see if there's something from it. Okay, so this is the chief engineer. He's a lieutenant, but he's commander as well. Chovak, he's a Vulcan. That's right. You can tell right there he's a Vulcan. So he would be impossible to please. And there it is. This Vulcan is interested in making friends and has tolerance for emotional desires to execute utmost efficiency with others as well. That makes sense. Can't see. I'm gonna guess that you are the up there, the chief medical officer. So the crew trusts Doctor too well because she can always be counted on to do well unvarnished. No, to tell the unvarnished truth, professionally or personally, even when it's difficult to hear. So she might also be doubling as a at her quote Captain Solano, but probably a member of the senior staff. And the only person who actually give other orders to the captain. That is true. I'm assuming this also may happen in other organizations, but definitely in Star Trek we've had it happen a couple times. The chief medical officer does have the power to uh, detain the captain, and is the only one to tell the captain that they need to not be captain anymore. Basically, if they're incapacitated, stuff like that. The only time I know of it happening, but actually happening, is I think it happens once in Deep Space Nine. It probably happens more in Deep Space Nine, but there's also one that happens during Hell Part Two, a great two-parter. If you ignore the reset button ending, that technically makes sense because it's a time travel episode, but it sucks as a reset button ending. Taking that away from it, it's a really great episode. And the chief medical officer there, Captain Janeway of duty, because she's basically gone insane, essentially. So that's just something to carry over. That's been established at least from Voyager, but I'm pretty sure it was even before. No, at least it was. Because there's an episode where Dr. Crusher kind of tells Picard that if you don't step down yourself, I'm gonna make you step down. People, fans don't seem to like the episode Rascals. I actually enjoy it. Take it as if I think it's supposed to be just a fun episode, and there's so many fun things that happen. There's one scene that bothered me slightly because it's hard, but besides that one scene, I enjoy the episode. It's also really fun to see the kid who plays Guinan, and the way that she acts is great too. An unjoined Trill, a chief, I think, of some kind. That that one is not seen very well. I'm not as familiar with what that insignia represents. Uh, she rebelled against the expectation of her society by enlisting in Starfleet. Her best friend Car Diaz joined up so he could somewhere, but get away. Whip smart with a penchant for sarcasm, she's not afraid to take down a peg. Battle. Sounds like she might be kind of the comic relief character, which is fine when done right. He's the captain, he's got 4 bars, and he just looks like a captain. Having captained the ship through a disaster 6 months ago, that force makes sense of cares. Not to prove that it was career, but still. Operations officer, there's a lot of commanders on this. I'm starting to think this is just unused qualified crew. Because the Enterprise didn't have that many commanders, I think. Data was only, Worf was only, Dory was only, and that rank makes sense. And to have a lot of that, that'd be like you think about management, for example, you have the captain as CEO, obviously the one overall decision. Then you've got the COO, the operations officer, in other words, commander, one that takes the orders from the captain and makes sure everybody gets done. And then the commanders are basic managers, lieutenants, and the varying degrees are, and then like lieutenants and ensigns are just your workers. Most a lot of jobs have like level 3, and that's basically what it would be. Is your 1, 2, and 3 are filled by the lieutenants and the junior grades. You know, it makes sense for them to be commanders. A lot of commanders that we're seeing because they all have the 3. Operations officer keeps everything, and this bully tries to carry himself. One of the most steadfast supporters, watching Jara closely now that she's joined the Resolution staff. Sounds like Jara might be a source of tension. Yeah, that character plays out. And the science officer, clearly a commander, which again, a minor detail, slightly annoying, but it's only slightly not pissing me off levels of bad. Commander Ben Westbrook likes to think he has all the answers. One question that still vexes him is why he was his first officer, considering it's usually a science vessel. Speaks his mind in big ways, but that's just onto a problem he doesn't like. So there's be a lot of conflict because Jara was picked first officer, and that already this game gets done well. So we met the crew. So take a look at the gameplay. Again, this is the one I started with, and it got about a minute. I thought I important. No, good. I know I could edit these out and but no, you're just gonna get the more raw. I'll edit a couple things here and there, but I actually might need to figure out. I might actually edit it out of this. I might do a streamlined version of that. That requires more editing. Have. All right, this gameplay trailer. Overall, this looks really nice. I actually, if this is supposed to be actual gameplay footage, this looks really.
Totally fried.
Some of the animations bother me slightly, but it's pre-release footage, so there's a chance that it could get better.
Nice work, Carter.
Nothing to it, Neely.
And not a moment too soon. The boss wants us down in engineering. Like, now.
So, minor issue already with that little badge over the door. That's never really been a thing in other ships. That wasn't a thing until Discovery did it. And then Lower Decks took that as well. But the overall designs, I think, these look like the shuttles from, again, Next Gen and Voyager, so that's era appropriate.
Come on.
It's set to HD. Is that the highest? Yeah, it's on the highest quality. Whoa, wait. Oh, bastards. So looking at this here, and one of the common traits that you would see on shuttles from the next gen era, and at least next gen era, I don't think Voyager did it as much. And you also have to go sell this on, well, what they would do, they put the registry of the number of the ship, slash whatever number shuttle this was. And so the way this is 92217 slash 0, but that 17 slash 0, it looked like 1701, which is on purpose. And 1701 is, of course, Enterprise. I guess one of the era appropriate things that is the proper symbol to use for Starfleet there. It looks a little bit, but that's acceptable. And then one of the kind of cool things that let me go back a few frames here. This is a really cool thing. We get to see Elkar's display of the ship. It doesn't mean nice little so far. Music is 2. A little disappointed that they're just walking through, but I think it's just it is what it is. Most games do that, so I can't bitch too much.
Engineering.
I heard the new Ecto just arrived. Won't be long before we get underway. I just hope whatever Chovak called us down for, it's something good. I can never tell with him. I'd rather not end up degaussing plasma manifolds. Hanging upside down makes me queasy.
What's the matter, Nilly? Afraid of a little hard work?
A little hard work? Really? A little? 6 months of putting this ship back together is a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and here we are. Just about ready to go.
Looks like we got here before.
Lieutenant Commander Chovak.
We were just looking for you, Commander.
Petty Officers Ed Solar, Diaz. I was beginning to think you would be late. We are all hands on deck right now, which means if you are not at your post at the appointed time, I do not have someone to replace you. A point I have been forced to make to Petty Officer Ed Solar on repeated occasions.
I'm actually gonna shoot.
Well, Commander Chovak, isn't it true that if we were almost late, it categorically means that we were not late?
That is correct, Mr. Diaz.
I mean, if anything, Ed Solar and I are following the schedule to the letter.
Yes, perhaps I should adjust the schedule accordingly.
So, I don't suppose you wanted us down here to check in before we go off duty?
Equip yourselves in EV suits to work on the exterior of the hull. I need you to tune the structural integrity field for optimal performance. The subspace distortions and ionic interference we are experiencing are preventing the proper calibration. But this ship must be ready to depart shortly, despite the storm. The precise nature of these disturbances are not fully understood. But
Oh,
many
you're
systems
gonna
have
sound
been
worried.
affected by the wide band of emissive activity.
How concerned should we be about the storm? Are you worried?
Vulcans do not worry.
That's what I expected.
We calculate the variables and take appropriate precautions to mitigate the risk. Right now, that entails making critical preparations, because long-range sensors show that these disturbances will be more severe at our destination, the Hotari system. You have your
I like the
orders.
voice acting so far.
Do not delay.
Yes,
Roger
Commander
that.
Chovak.
I don't like that warp engine, or that not engine, the warp core. It's obviously a minor detail, but I don't like that. It's nothing canonically. I just don't like that. I also, for the record, don't like lower decks. That engine or whole engine room just way too nice, but that's a separate issue. Another. But again, overall, bad. I do. Far.
My, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past.
Your experience.
Your experience comes from the past, but our present situation calls for it.
True enough.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details.
Lookalike isn't. It
We
sounded
got
like
the
isn't
basics
bad.
from Starfleet.
It's
Two
obviously
formerly
noticeable.
peaceful
It's obviously noticeable that it's not Spock or not Leonard Nimoy. But the impression isn't too far off. This actually reminds me of Samurai Jack. I forget the original actors. Fun fact that I didn't know that no one else probably care about. He actually shows up in an episode of MASH, like in a live action episode of MASH, the old sitcom from the 70s. It's one of the old shows I actually do like, and I've been rewatching pieces recently. It is a show that I do enjoy, and yeah, he's in there. But anyway, he's also the voice of Samurai Jack. And unfortunately, he passed away between five, which almost means he's about to happen. But he'd been doing some roles in the same actor had been doing in Avatar. They found a basically Mako's. I'm just gonna say the actor's basically apprentice. It really sound like him too. And so they used him in that show, and then they brought him into Samurai Jack as well. So it's kind of the same case of if you're listening to them kind of as you're watching the show, you're probably okay, and you probably won't know. If you're listening like back to back, original Aku, same thing with version of Spock. Not terrible. Enough to know it's off because in landing ways hard to replace. It isn't terrible. It's not too distracting yet.
neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour.
But there's that there. I could tell that off right. That yeah, no, that was off.
Lydia and Hotari. The Lydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Illydians have shared a mining operation there. The Illydians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Illydians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Noticing the stutter, and I'm not sure if that's just the or actually in game. And then just that camera move felt like an in-game stutter. Most likely, I'm hoping that's just in development works. that'll get smoothed out later on.
What are the Hotari defensive capabilities? Do they stand a chance to hold on to the
That's
mines now
weird
that they've taken
lighting.
them?
That
It
lighting
is
bothers me.
unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would prevail against the Lydian fleet in open war. But it would have been equally unlikely to predict they could take possession of the mines until they did just that, which leaves many unanswered questions. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly, the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
We can call it profitable or mutually beneficial, but at the end of the day, the Hotari are still being exploited for their own resources.
True peace is not merely the absence of war. And as such, this conflict will surely come again.
Neither the Elydians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Elydians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
The Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
That means the Hotari have no reason to trust us.
I wouldn't go that far, Commander.
We are completely neutral in this matter, on neither one side nor the other. Any suggestion otherwise would compromise our position. Given the Federation's involvement in the Elydium dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the ion storm has done to our ship and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Elydian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity and they took it.
That would also explain the Elydians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own.
I've just seen everything so far.
So
The lighting and that lighting on the character's face when you get the close up is, but again, that could just be a free and in development work. I hope they catch that. But overall, like just the way that it sounds, I know we're only like halfway through. Well, 3/4 of the way through. Got a couple minutes left. Overall, I'm really enjoying the sound of this. It sounds like this is gonna be a lot more proper Star Trek game, and it very well could be like it could very well be one of the first proper Star Trek we've ever really had. To be fair, Star Trek is kind of boring, as if you're trying to put it into a game. Some of the more Star Trek missions, even in STO, do get boring on repeat playthroughs. That's actually one of the ones I just did recently. We're just kind of exploring a system, and that's really all we did, and it just felt like busy work. Not that the game has to be completely all no, but when you're playing a game and you're interacting with stuff, that tends to be the fun part. Plus, just the way that STO does it isn't best. You can find some bit more cooler and a bit more rewarding exploration missions in Skyrim. I'm sure I've guilty haven't played Skyrim, and even Breath of the Wild. As much as Breath of the Wild and I didn't click, there were parts of it that I still did click with. I did enjoy exploring the map. In general, that version of Hyrule was very fun, and getting a Star Trek game where you can explore is actually, and it looks like this very well could be a return to a more ethical dilemma kind of thing where you discuss it. Most likely, the game will still push you towards one option. Fine, but if they have this here is like perfect. Barely got anything like this in Discovery. Don't get anything like this in Picard. Whether you just have characters sitting down talking about a problem. Sure, it's not as interesting from a not always as interesting, but it gives you everyone else's perspectives. As you can see there, like the character suggested, oh, it's a problem, and other characters started clicking and going, that's probably what's going on. Again, this could very well be really cool, very interesting, very you know, very cool, yeah, very appropriately Star Trek game.
Trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly goes her own way. Maybe that helps in this case. It would be unconventional, but I'm not opposed to it.
With all due respect, Ambassador, I'm not a trained diplomat.
That's exactly what we're going to leverage.
I began my time in Starfleet as a science officer, not as an ambassador. We must be adaptable in the line of duty.
Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Yeah, it's still not that bad. Actually, let me quick here. This is the real trailer.
I enlisted because.
Oh wait, duh. We already saw this. I started. I am cautiously optimistic. It'll be a very interesting game. And oh, got to make well. This is gonna be kind of funny to say stream, but we're gonna use this anyway. I meant to do, forgot to finish. There we go. Was both updating, like this isn't a stream obviously, and the webcam fix was easy. But yeah, thank you for joining me. This is definitely not your reaction video. I'm probably title it as a discussion as well. And what happens? But as always, live long and prosper. And I was hopefully in stream.